The Magnificent 7 ETF was one of the biggest ETF hits of the last couple of years, but many investors want to diversify out beyond just 7 stocks. ETF giant BlackRock is looking to address that. Let's talk with Rachel Aguirre. She's head of U.S. iShares products at BlackRock, which has just launched the iShares Top 20 U.S. Stocks ETF. The symbol is TOPT. That consists of the top 20 stocks in the S&P 500. Also joining us, Alex Shepard from ETF Action. Rachel, the Magnificent 7 ETF, I see it's up 46% this year. What's the argument for diversifying into a broader group of the top 20 stocks rather than just, say, the top 7 stocks?
Well, so glad to be here with you today, Bob. And if we start by, let's just talk about the state of the U.S. equity markets for a moment. If you take a step back, there has been just a massive transformation that has taken place in the U.S. equity markets more broadly over the past several years. And, you know, there's a lot of different names to it. The rise of big techs, the FANG stocks, if you go back several years, the Magnificent 7 of today. But whatever label you put on it, what we know is that mega cap companies are having an ever increasing impact on investors in the U.S. stock market today. Now, you mentioned products that have been brought to market, notably the Magnificent 7. Well, what the iShares Build ETFs are designed to do is to deliver a toolkit of simple solutions for investors to be able to capture the growth of some of the largest companies within the U.S. equity market today, but to do so in a broader and more diversified manner. So
you are doing something similar with the NASDAQ here. You also have an ETF, this was launched last week, for the top 30 non-financial companies. And then you've had launched the third one as well, I guess you call it the second tier, the next 70, that gives exposure to the 31st largest to the 100th largest companies. So when I look at this top 30 NASDAQ, it looks an awful lot like the S&P top 20 you launched in terms of top holdings. It's got the usual big names in it. This is still really a concentrated bet on technology, whether you're buying a Mag 7 or even the new one that you just are offering here, right?
You're right. And, you know, let me just provide a stat that hopefully will help paint a picture for your viewers today. If you go back to the year 2000, the entire U.S. equity market was valued at $15 trillion. Fast forward to today, the 8 largest companies alone now are worth $15 trillion. So that just speaks to the massive impact that mega caps are having on U.S. equity markets today. Now, notably, when you look at not just their sheer size, but actually how these companies are driving outsized returns for investors, the NASDAQ 100 is a really great example to highlight here. The top 30 companies of the NASDAQ 100 have contributed more than 89% of the total index return over the past 5 years. And so that's really the nexus of what we're looking to do here, which is deliver an easy and accessible way for investors to tap into that growth and innovation of mega caps, whether that be in the tech-heavy NASDAQ space or more broadly within the S&P.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is if you get outside the top 20 or so that you see, the next 70, and I'm talking about the NASDAQ here, is a lot more diversified than just technology stocks. Let's put up the list here. The next 70, I see much lower concentration and fewer tech stocks. So you look here, this is the Q top, but if you look at the next 70, the NASDAQ, I see Micron in it. I see Gilead Sciences there. That's a biotech. I see Starbucks. That's a consumer stocks. Mercado Libre is a Latin American company, and there's Lam Research. So the point here is that this is not just technology. When you get outside of the top 20 here, I guess what I'm wondering is these are all done well. Are there signs that we're suddenly in a period of just extended large cap performance? It's not just necessarily big caps. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here.
Right. And you raise a really important point. It's important for clients and investors to remember that there are split views on this topic. There are many investors who believe that the big will get bigger, that the winners will continue to win. And there's plenty of numbers that point to that and underpin that. If you look at the S&P 500 over this past year, the top 20 companies have had revenue growth of 15%, whereas the remaining companies within the S&P 500 have seen revenue growth of around 4%. But there's also another side to this argument. There are many investors who believe that it's actually a very worrisome time to continue investing in mega cap companies because of just their high valuations, and they would rather lean into those next companies, value heavy companies, which, by the way, are staging quite a comeback in terms of earnings growth. Now, that's why we're delivering an entire toolkit to investors. So whatever your view is on the markets, you have a simple solution to express that view, whether that be in mega caps and top 20, top 30, or whether that be wanting to capture the growth of who may be positioned as the next wave of innovators.